You've been lied to, not by a bad coach, not by a shady supplement company, by the most well-meaning advice in the fitness world. The advice that says, rest day, sit down, eat your protein, let your body heal. Here's the truth nobody is saying out loud if you're over 40. That couch is a slow poison for your joints. I'm going to say something today that sounds completely backwards, and the science, peer-reviewed, published, undeniable science, is going to prove every word of it. Moving is your recovery. The right kind of primal, purposeful movement is the single most powerful tool a mature lifter has to flush inflammation, restore tissue quality, and come back to the barbells stronger than before. Not rest, movement. Welcome to the Gorilla Recovery Protocol. I'm Dr. Aris Thorne, sports medicine physician, former competitive powerlifter, and someone who has spent 2 decades in clinical practice watching serious athletes over 40 get destroyed, not by their training, but how they recover from it. I've worked with over 200 athletes between the ages of 40 and 70, former rugby players, masters powerlifters, weekend warriors who still refuse to quit, people who are exactly like you. Serious, committed, and frustrated that their body isn't responding the way it used to. Here at Primal Unleashed, we operate by one standard. We call it the Silverback standard. And the core mantra is this: modern life makes us soft. Primal movement makes us unbreakable. We don't just lift weights, we reclaim our nature. That is not a slogan. That is a biological truth. And by the end of this video, you will understand it at a cellular level. Here's exactly what you're walking away with today, and I want you to stay for all of it because these pieces build on each other. Number 1, you'll understand why passive rest is actively accelerating joint degradation in mature lifters. The research on this will genuinely shock you. Number 2, I'll give you the complete 5-movement Gorilla Recovery Protocol, movements I have personally used with athletes to cut soreness recovery time nearly in half within 4 weeks. Number 3, I'll reveal the 90-minute post-training nutrition window that most coaches completely miss. Get this wrong, and every other recovery strategy you use is running at half power. And stay with me through all 5 movements, because the 5th one, the one that looks the simplest, is the one that changes the entire system. I'll explain the science behind it, why, in a way that will make you never skip it again. This is research most personal trainers have never read. Let's get into it. Let me paint you a picture. You're 44 years old, you've been lifting seriously for years. You hit a heavy squat session on Monday. Tuesday morning, knees like 2 bags of wet sand. You do what every gym veteran tells you to do. Stay off your feet, eat your protein, take some ibuprofen, sleep. Wednesday, still stiff, a little better, still stiff. Thursday, you're back in the gym at about 70%. You push through because you're not a quitter. Friday, you're overtrained, grinding your teeth, and quietly angry at your own body for betraying you. I know that feeling. I've lived it, and I've watched it happen to some of the most disciplined athletes I have ever met. That cycle is not a fitness problem. It is a recovery science problem. And today, you're going to understand exactly why and exactly what to do about it. Here is exactly what is actually happening inside your tissues after a hard session, and specifically why it is completely different at 40 plus than it was at 25. When you train hard, you create micro tears in your muscle fibers. That is not damage, that's the stimulus for growth. Your body responds by sending in a repair crew, inflammatory cytokines, satellite cells, growth factors. In a 25-year-old, that crew shows up fast, works efficiently, and clocks out quickly. In a 45-year-old, that crew is still competent, it's just slower. And here's the critical part most people have never been told. In a mature athlete, it takes significantly longer to clear the inflammatory signals once the repair work is done. This means practically that you often sit in a low-grade residual inflammation for longer than younger athletes, day after day, session after session. And when you add passive rest on top of that, when you lie still on a couch, you're letting that inflammatory debris sit in your tissue like standing water. It thickens, it stiffens. Your fascia, the connective tissue wrapping every muscle, organ, and joint in your body, begins to dehydrate. Every passive rest day you take is compounding this problem, every single one. Dr. Robert Schleip at the Fascia Research Group in Germany has documented something alarming. Even 24 hours of immobility begins to alter the fluid dynamics inside fascia, reducing its ability to slide and glide as designed.
That's 1 day of sitting still, and most lifters are taking 2 or 3 consecutive passive rest days every week. Now here is where the gorilla comes in, and this is where things get genuinely interesting. A silverback gorilla in the wild covers between half a kilometer and a full kilometer every single day, not in high-intensity bursts, in slow, deliberate, multi-directional movement, ground to standing transitions, reaching overhead, crawling, squatting, hanging. These animals do not take passive rest days. They move constantly, but not always hard, and that constant moderate movement acts as a biological pump. It moves synovial fluid through the joints. It keeps fascia hydrated. It maintains the sensory calibration of the entire body. That right there is what mature lifters are missing. And in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to show you the exact 3 mechanisms that explain why this works. Mechanisms that, once you understand them, make the gorilla recovery protocol not just something you try, but something you cannot logically skip. Before I give you the protocol, I want to give you the mechanism, because understanding why this works is what will make you actually do it instead of reverting back to the couch. 3 mechanisms. I'll keep these tight. The first is mechanotransduction. This is the process by which mechanical stress, movement, converts to biochemical signals inside your cells. When you move your joints through their range of motion at low intensity, the mechanical signal tells your fibroblasts, your cells responsible for producing collagen, to lay down new tissue along the lines of stress. Movement tells your body exactly where to rebuild. Passive rest gives no directional signal, so collagen is laid down randomly. That's how you develop the adhesions and chronic stiffness that mature athletes constantly complain about. The body is building, it's just building blind. The second is lymphatic circulation. Your cardiovascular system has the heart as a dedicated pump. Your lymphatic system, your body's primary waste removal network, has no dedicated pump. It relies entirely on muscular contraction and movement to circulate. Inflammatory debris, dead cells, metabolic byproducts, all of it cleared through the lymphatics. When you sit still, that clearance slows to a crawl.
When you move, even gently, the muscular contractions act as a manual pump, pushing lymph through the nodes and clearing the waste that is creating your soreness and stiffness. Gentle movement is literally a biological flush cycle. Sitting is the off switch. The third is the parasympathetic shift. After a hard training session, your nervous system is in a heightened sympathetic state, fight or flight, cortisol elevated, norepinephrine circulating. This state, if it stays elevated, actively suppresses tissue repair. Gentle, rhythmic, purposeful movement activates the parasympathetic system. It shifts your nervous system into repair mode. But here is the critical distinction. It must be the right kind of movement. Intense exercise pushes you deeper into sympathetic overdrive. That is exactly why recovery movement has a very specific look and feel, and why every one of the 5 movements in this protocol was chosen deliberately. I want to pause here and be straight with you for a moment. When I was 41 years old, I was still training like I was 28. Heavy, frequent, minimal attention to what happened between sessions, and I hit a wall that I could not train through. Bilateral knee pain that would not clear, shoulder stiffness that was affecting my pressing. I was frustrated in a way I could not fully explain to anyone who had lived it. It took me 2 years of going deep into the research to understand that my problem was not my training. My problem was everything in between the training. Once I understood these 3 mechanisms, everything changed. Not just for me, for every mature athlete I have worked with since. You are not the average gym goer who just wants to look decent. You are a serious athlete who deserves a recovery strategy built for serious athletes. And that is exactly what this protocol is. Stay with me for the next section, because this is where it becomes practical. 5 movements, 25 minutes. Do this the morning after every major training session. After 4 weeks of practicing this consistently, your body will demand it. Movement 1, the Primal squat hold, 5 minutes. Go into a full deep squat. Feet shoulder-width apart, toes slightly out, and stay there. Not bouncing, not forcing, just breathing and settling. This is the foundational resting position of the human body. Every culture on Earth before the invention of the chair sat in this position daily, and virtually no one in a Western gym does it anymore.
It does 4 things simultaneously. It decompresses the lumbar spine. It opens the hip capsule. It stimulates the proprioceptors in your ankles and knees. And, this is the part almost no one knows, it gently massages the organs of the lower abdomen, which directly activates the vagus nerve and begins the shift into parasympathetic recovery mode. Dr. Bahram Jam, a Canadian physiotherapist who has worked extensively on hip and spine mechanics, calls the deep squat the most neglected therapeutic tool in the Western fitness world. If you cannot reach a full deep squat yet, use a door frame for support. Start where you are, work toward 5 full unassisted minutes over time. 5 minutes, just breathe and let gravity work. And before I show you movement 3, I want to give you one piece of anatomy that explains why your shoulders never fully recover between heavy pressing sessions. I'll get there in about 3 minutes. Movement 2, thoracic spiral, 3 minutes each side. From a seated or kneeling position, rotate your upper spine slowly and completely to one side. Breathe into the rotation. Let the exhale carry you a little further into the twist. Then the other side. 3 minutes each side. Slow, no forcing. Let the rotation be an exhale. Here is why this matters so much for mature lifters specifically. The thoracic spine, your mid-upper back, is where mobility disappears first. Desk work, driving, years of chest-dominant training, all of it accelerates stiffness in this region. And once the thoracic spine stops rotating freely, your shoulders compensate, your neck compensates, your bench press becomes a liability, your overhead press is effectively gone. The thoracic spiral mobilizes the costovertebral joints, the small joints where your ribs meet your spine, and it creates a mechanical ringing effect on the musculature and connective tissue of your back, literally squeezing inflammatory fluid out of the tissue the way you would wring water from a cloth. 3 minutes, each side, slow, no forcing. Let the rotation be an exhale. Movement 3, ground flow. 8 minutes. Spend 8 minutes moving continuously on the floor. No prescribed sequence, just a conversation between you and gravity. Roll from your back to your side to hands and knees. Push into a deep lunge, reach overhead, move to seated, stand slowly, come back down, explore any position that feels natural and push gently into the edges of your range. You are not doing a workout. You are doing what your biology was designed to do, moving through varied positions on varied surfaces. And here's the shoulder answer I promised you. One of the primary reasons rotator cuff impingement is so common in lifters over 40 is that the shoulder joint never fully decompresses between sessions. Pressing, pulling, carrying, all of it loads the joint in similar planes repeatedly. Ground flow, specifically the reaching and rotational patterns that happen naturally during floor movement, create multi-directional traction across the shoulder capsule in ways that targeted stretching cannot replicate. Because the movement is active, your nervous system is participating, not just receiving. I have watched athletes in their 50s and 60s resolve chronic shoulder aches within 3 to 4 weeks by adding ground flow to their recovery mornings. Not because they changed their training, because they gave their joints something they had been missing for years. A 2015 study published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology found that the ability to sit on the floor and stand up without using your hands was one of the strongest predictors of all-cause mortality in adults over 50. That statistic reflects something profound. Multiplanar floor movement is not supplemental to physical function. It is foundational. 8 minutes, move like an animal reclaiming its range. 2 movements left, and I have not yet told you about the 200,000 sensory nerve endings that determine how well every joint in your body actually functions. That's coming in movement 5. Stay with me. Movement 4, hanging decompress, 3 minutes. Find a pull-up bar, a door frame, a tree branch, anything you can hang from safely. Hang in a passive dead hang, not actively pulling, just hanging, breathing, letting gravity create traction through your shoulders, spine, and hips. 3 minutes. Here's what's happening. The intervertebral discs in your spine are under compression for essentially every minute you're upright or seated. That compression is cumulative after years of training, sitting, standing, and living. The discs progressively dehydrate and compress in ways that affect mobility, nerve function, and the chronic low-grade pain that mature lifters accept as normal.
It is not normal. It is fixable. Passive hanging reverses this.
The traction created by your own body weight gently expands the disc space, encouraging fluid reabsorption into the disc nucleus. Think of it like rehydrating a sponge that has been compressed and dried for decades. For your shoulders specifically, passive hanging allows the rotator cuff muscles to achieve full end range length in a way that no manual stretch can accomplish. The decompression simultaneously opens the subacromial space, the narrow gap where rotator cuff impingement originates in most lifters over 40. 3 minutes. Break it into 60-second sets if needed. Work toward continuous hanging over time. Every mature athlete I have worked with who adds this single movement reports that their shoulder mobility in the gym changes within 2 weeks, not months, 2 weeks, because the body was always capable of this. It just needed the stimulus. Movement 5, barefoot proprioception walk, 10 minutes. This is the one. This is the movement that people look at and dismiss because it looks too simple. Walk barefoot, on uneven ground if at all possible. Grass, gravel, sand, a forest path. If you live in an urban environment, even you walking barefoot on carpet while deliberately varying your gait and foot placement works. Now here's why this is the most important movement in the entire protocol and why almost nobody in mainstream fitness is talking about it. Your feet contain roughly 200,000 sensory nerve endings. They were designed to receive constant, varied input from the ground. That input travels through your nervous system and calibrates the motor control patterns for your entire body. Ankles, knees, hips, spine, shoulders, neck, everything. Your feet are the control panel for your entire movement system. Modern shoes, even high-quality training shoes, block virtually all of that input. The result, over years and decades, is what researchers call proprioceptive deficit. Your body progressively loses its ability to self-regulate joint position with precision. You lose micro-level control of your own mechanics. This shows up as the unexplainable joint aches between sessions, the stiffness with no obvious source, the instability that makes certain movements feel unreliable. Mature lifters experience this constantly and chalk it up to age. It is not age. It is a missing input. 10 minutes of barefoot walking on varied terrain recalibrates the entire system. It activates the small intrinsic muscles of the foot that have atrophied inside shoes. It reawakens the sensory pathways from the ground to your brain, and it reorganizes your movement patterns in a way that top-down approaches, stretching, foam rolling, manual therapy, simply cannot match. A 2018 study published in the journal Frontiers in Physiology demonstrated that a 12-week barefoot training protocol significantly improved knee pain, hip function, and balance in active adults over 50. 12 weeks of what? Walking without shoes. That's how powerful a missing input becomes once you restore it. 10 minutes, barefoot, every recovery morning, non-negotiable. This is the movement that holds the entire protocol together. You now understand something that the majority of fitness professionals have never been taught. 5 movements, 25 minutes built around the exact physiological systems that mature athletes most urgently need to maintain. One more piece before I let you go, and this one either doubles the effectiveness of everything you just learned or quietly cancels it. The 90-minute post-training nutrition window. In the 90 minutes following a training session, your muscle tissue is in a state of maximal insulin sensitivity. The nutrient transporters on your muscle cell membranes are open and waiting. What you consume in this window either accelerates tissue repair dramatically or largely misses the target. Most mature lifters eat too late, too little, or the wrong balance in this window, and every other thing they do for recovery runs at reduced effectiveness as a result. Here's what the research actually supports for athletes over 40. Within 30 minutes of training, a fast-absorbing protein source, whey isolate, egg whites, or Greek yogurt combined with a moderate glycemic carbohydrate, not to spike insulin aggressively, to use insulin as the transport mechanism that moves amino acids into muscle cells. A carbohydrate in this window is not the enemy, it is a key. Within the full 90-minute window, a larger whole food meal built around anti-inflammatory compounds, omega-3 fatty acids from fatty fish or flaxseed, polyphenols from dark leafy greens and berries, and this is the one most coaches completely miss for mature lifters,
collagen peptides combined with vitamin C. Research by Dr. Keith Barr at the University of California, Davis has demonstrated that the collagen-vitamin C combination consumed during the recovery window significantly increases collagen synthesis in tendons and ligaments. For mature athletes whose collagen tissue recovery consistently lags behind muscle recovery, this is not an optional addition, it is foundational. The 5 movements do the work. This window seals the result. Here's where I want to leave you. The gorilla does not rest to recover. The gorilla moves. Slowly, purposefully, intelligently, but it moves. That is not a metaphor. That is millions of years of biological programming telling you something that modern convenience has caused us to forget. You are a primate. Your joints were built to move. Your fascia was built to glide. Your nervous system was built to receive constant varied input from the world around you. When you give it that, even on your recovery days, it rewards you with less pain, faster repair, and a body that does not betray you under the bar. That's what we stand for at Primal Unleashed. Modern life makes us soft. Primal movement makes us unbreakable. We don't just lift weights, we reclaim our nature and subscribe. You came here as a serious athlete. You're leaving with a protocol backed by real science and real clinical experience. Put it into practice for 4 weeks, come back and tell me in the comments what changed. If this shifted how you think about recovery, share this video with one training partner over 40 who is still taking passive rest days and calling that a plan. They need this. Most people will never find it on their own. The next video covers the exact training modifications mature lifters need to protect their connective tissue during heavy loading phases. The link is right here. I'm Dr. Aris Thorne. I will see you in the next one.